I want to bring in now Julia Jenaé. She is there at this trial, going to be covering it for us. Joined us earlier on opening statements. And Julia, you battled those lines to get all the way in there and up to the courtroom. And then apparently we've got a late juror. So tell us, please, what did you see when you were going in there? I'm curious. Extra security, a lot of people in the gallery. What did it look like?
Well, definitely a second line before you get into the courtroom, taking people's phones, checking IDs, and there were 2 rows designated just for the media, and we were told that the rest of this courtroom was really packed with the family of the defendants in this case, so that they wouldn't really have a lot of room for the public that was standing by. But we are seeing members of the public who were in those lines, really long media line, but also I noticed a music producer, executive producer, Kevin Lyles, who was won a Billboard Award back in 2020 for Executive Producer of the Year. So there are people who are interested in what the beginning of this trial is going to look like. Kevin Lyles even said to the media, made really his presence known by saying if this were any other music genre, that we wouldn't be here. So that's the air of things in that line of people waiting, really the media and then some members of the public, but mostly family. But that start with the juror, definitely unusual for the first day of trial. But I will tell you, Julie, there's this air of some bit of a questionable whether or not that issue is a juror who's not going to show up. So not just a traffic issue, not just a maybe this juror lost track of time, but because of how this trial has gone and the 10-month or 9-month rather jury selection process, if it's indication enough about how things have gone, it is a question of whether or not this juror is going to be able to be located and whether we'll have to proceed with just 12 jurors and 5 alternates rather than the 6 that are slated for a 10-month trial, which may not be enough. But here's a listen to Judge Glanville referencing what has happened and what slowed things down this morning.
All right, counsels, we are at this point in time waiting for one juror that has still not been able to be located. I have asked our sheriff's team to go ahead and see if they can find her, and that's what we're waiting on at this point in time. So we're going to just be in pause or in recess until that time comes, and then we'll go ahead and get started once our juror gets here. Okay? So we're going to be in recess.
Julie, this was a case that had a lot of delays during jury selection. It had issues with people who didn't want to serve. So it's a question of whether or not this juror may be avoiding service or simply had some kind of emergency. We don't know.
That's an interesting question, Julia. You know, you wonder, did this juror get cold feet? Knowing the projected amount of time, 10 months for this one, as you mentioned, could it have been an emergency? Oh boy, I guess we'll see what the court does if they want to try to enforce that subpoena or just, as you said, let it go and just proceed with the others. I'm curious, did they bring any of the defendants into the courtroom yet? Have you had a chance to see Young Thug yet today?
Yes, everyone is inside of the courtroom, which as well makes it a little difficult in terms of wondering why things haven't moved along, because we are seeing the attorneys all there, all of the prosecutors who are set to give their opening statement. They are there inside of the courtroom, and the defendants. They're wearing their dress shirts and ties. So everyone is ready to go and accounted for. It's just this one juror who is not inside. We did get word about how the opening statements will go. The prosecution isn't getting any kind of a time limit on their presentation on all of these issues, all of these charges, and all of these defendants, but the defense is going to get 1 hour each. So 6 hours is the potential of what we could see for the defense opening statements, and with no time limit on the prosecution, there's a possibility that opening statements could take well into today or tomorrow.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for that. Julia, we'll let you go inside and get warm for now. Looking forward to speaking with you later today here on Court TV Live. Julia Jenaé, Court TV legal correspondent, thank you so much. All right, here's what we're going to do. We are going to bring in our guest now. I have with me retired Police Sergeant Melissa Pinkleton, standing by in Nashville, watching along. Sergeant, let's talk a little bit, if we can, about the juror issue. With a projection of 10 months, it makes me wonder, you know, if this was going to be 10 weeks, I might say, let it go. But do you think we may see the judge try to enforce that subpoena?
I think it's a possibility. There's several things running through my mind with this juror. Is she having cold feet because it's going to be 10 months? Is she realizing how much publicity this trial really is? It really setting in? This is going to be a very public trial, very lengthy trial. There's ties to get, obviously, this is about a gang. Is she worried about retaliation? Is she just running late? Does she have an accident on the way? I mean, I don't know. I think it's going to depend once they locate her, what she has to say about why she is not there. I think that is when the judge will decide if he is going to make her continue to serve on the jury or not.
Right, Sergeant. Maybe a little more information needs to be gathered there. How about the other big thing that Julia shared with us? Kevin Liles, a big wig in the music industry, somebody who is highly respected, very famous in that industry, has lots of followers on his various social platforms, and somebody who's been a staunch supporter of Young Thug from the beginning and feeling like this is an attack on music, on lyrics, on the expression of Black artists, and something that is in the balance here, you know, freedom of speech and the ability to express oneself artistically without fear of you know, suppression from the government is essentially what, you know, he's saying. Him showing up in courtroom is something, in the courtroom is something I'm thinking about. If jurors know who he might be, what kind of influence might that have? I was asking my teammates if they think that maybe we'll see some famous faces. You know, Kevin Liles might not be a face you recognize, but what about somebody like Lil Baby? Like, he might be coming in there to support his fellow rapper friend. You know, stranger things have happened. Maybe you mentioned earlier on the show, Sergeant T.I. Could T.I. be a possibility? You know, who knows? What if some famous people start showing up to support Young Thug? Do you think that affects the jury?
I think it has the potential to, and also Tunechi's supposed to show up, which is Lil Wayne, by the way. So he's supposed to be slated as a possible witness. But jurors, let's give them credit. Let's go back to Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. And I think jurors get it right most of the time. They will evaluate the testimony. They might get starstruck for a minute if they know who they are. The executive that's in the courtroom right now, I've listened to rap since I was 11 years old. I started with NWA when I was 11 years old. Yeah. I love rap. My husband doesn't get it.
You're so cool. I love it.
I have a lot of interest in this case, but I don't know the record executive. He might be there, obviously giving support, or he might be tied to Young Thug, whose government name, by the way, is Jeffrey Williams. But he might be tied to him financially somehow, some sort of a record deal. But famous or not, you might get a little starstruck. And I really think that the jurors will listen to the testimony and evaluate it and evaluate the evidence and make the right decision. It's pretty rare when jurors get it wrong. Let me say this, though, about the whole, it's an attack on freedom. I do agree with the one thing. If you are going to commit a crime and you're going to rap about it, you're going to lay whatever track down, whatever, I do think that absolutely it could be part of the case. Is it going to be the strongest part? No, because there are a lot of people who in the rap community will claim street cred, and they have none, and they do it. And that's just a big part of rap music. It's a huge part of the culture, is talking about being on the street, talking about crime, talking about gangs, talking about crimes that are committed, crimes that they witness. So I don't think it's an attack on the rap community. I think that it is just an attack on crimes committed by particular individuals involved who also happen to rap.
I hear you, Sarge. Absolutely respect your opinion on this. I'm so glad we have you on the show today. Hopefully this gets underway soon. We're going to hit a break. When we come back, we'll see if that juror has been located or if the court wants to proceed without her in the trial of rapper Young Thug. Real name, Jeffrey Williams. We'll be right back.